presentation of TFNN. The Tom O'Brien Show is produced every business day. Tom takes your phone calls toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Let's go to John in Orlando. Hey, John, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Tom, good afternoon to you. How are you?
I'm doing great, man.
I want to thank you, first of all, before I ask you about the stock. You and Tim Ward and all the gang at TFNN. I had a really, really good year after the October call you guys made. My 401k is up 72%.
Congratulations, man.
A couple of things I made with Coinbase and other stocks that I made, and I've had a good year.
And we appreciate you growling and prowling with us, man. That's a beautiful thing.
Now, Tom O'Brien.
What's going on, everyone? This is Jacob Shub. You're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. I hope you all had an okay day. Obviously, we're moving a little bit to the downside right now in just about everything on my watch list. Obviously, you have some movement up in yields, right? We can take a look here at the 10-year. You're off about 0.37%. I could say probably that might be a part of a reason why it's selling off, but I think as well, there is just such an exuberance to the upside coming into election season. And so, you know, we were speaking with Tim Ward yesterday, and he has this vision, at least from his analysis, of pulling back to that 560 level, and the SPY we're trading at 577 right now. The composite is off about 1.82%. Dow Jones Industrial off about 0.9%, and the SPY off about 1.07%. That dollar is still somewhat strong today. This counter trend bounce has been absurd. I would say today, even with gold being down, you're off about 1.16%. The fact that gold has been so unbelievably strong with a strong dollar as well makes me feel even more bullish on just the gold contract itself. Of course, when Tim Ward comes on, he talks more about the miners, but I'm looking at it, the base metal, and we're off 1.15% today. But I still think overall that's somewhat of a bullish perspective for gold going forward. Dollar still strong again, up 0.25% right now. Trading at about 104.42. Crude coming back down a little bit. The gold contract, as we were saying, off about 1.13%. Copper contract off about 1.3%. And silver getting hammered down about 3.6%, trading at 33.77 on that contract. Apple is off right now. Disney off a little bit, but has been doing a lot better recently, which is nice to see. General Electric Aerospace. It was interesting, you know, they had this big fall. If we can talk, I guess, some about that. They were having some issues keeping up with demand for some of their jetline engines, which traditionally isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? If you're keeping up with demand, if you can't keep up with demand, it must mean a lot of people want your stuff. But the problem is they're really just not having an easy time pushing them out, which now when that becomes a long-term issue, you start seeing that get reflected because nobody's getting paid. Of course, they're having issues too over at Boeing, and I wonder if this impacts the stock in any significant way or operations in any significant way. I think probably what this is just kind of, you know, counter trend purchasing off it. This was a pretty big dip. Obviously, some pretty strong volume into it, and so a little bounce on lighter volumes kind of expected with something like that. Lucid off heavily today, down 4.41%. Let's see, Meta off 3.15%. It's kind of a tough day. Steel Dynamics, very interesting what it did. You know, that gapped up, really jumped out of its usual kind of trading pattern, up to that 135, then came right back down on it to the upper end of the range it was trading in, which was that 125 to 130 area. So nice to see kind of it following, you know, a similar pattern as it always does. Let's talk a little bit about NVIDIA. I had my buddy text me, and he aped like so much, you know, cash in NVIDIA. I still think, you know, I still think it has a lot of good potential in the company, especially with Blackwell coming out. It's off 3.27% right now as it stands. So what is that about? Essentially, they had issues with Blackwell. The yield was bad, right? And it was a mistake that they made. TSM is a little bit, I think, salvaged from this since they're so inextricable, at least in the public mind and in the media's mind as well. I guess TSM was actually able to help NVIDIA kind of resolve this. NVIDIA said it was their own problem. It was nothing to do with how TSM was, their yield process, which is actually pretty bullish for TSM, especially since they were able to kind of recover it, even though it wasn't their issue, which is kind of neat. So it was a glitch after showcasing the chips in March, led to production delays affecting hyperscaler customers. That's going to be things like Meta and Amazon, Google, so on and so forth. To that point, one of the things that was interesting in this case, so last week's report indicated that Amazon and Amazon Web Services data centers plan were delayed due to the production issues with NVIDIA's Blackwell chip. Obviously, the yield issue is pretty massive. It seems like it's resolved, but if it's already pushing back stuff, into Q1 of 25, that has some issues. And now, Amazon itself is creating their own kind of AI chips, right? And this is where this stuff gets kind of weird. And I think it is worth kind of talking about how all this stuff works. You're getting all these different flavors of chips. It's very hard, I think, to keep everything straightened out in your mind, especially when, there are things like, neural processing units. I mean, like, what does that even mean, right? How is that different from a GPU? Amazon has Trainium, okay? And that's another question, how is that going to compete? Is it going to compete with Blackwell? And so at least looking at Trainium, one of the questions is is there a potential for Amazon to actually compete with NVIDIA's GPUs? NVIDIA is still creating GPUs. They're not doing anything specialized, right? I mean, they're getting a lot better, obviously, especially with Blackwell. It seems like demand for Blackwell is huge. We're still in this era, again, of training these large models. These other companies that are creating things like Microsoft, trying to find their own kind of chips, Amazon with Trainium, Google with their TPUs and stuff like that. These things get developed for special use cases, right? So when you're training large, this is what we've spoken about where, we're seeing this phase already take place with ASML maybe not selling as much, right? Everyone kind of freaked out on the rest of the chip sector, but that was a little bit short-sighted in the sense that we're now just in the phase of really building out these server racks. We're really training these AI models now. So that's where we're kind of in right now. We've mobilized, we've gotten all the stuff we need in order to create these chips, and now we're doing stuff with the chips such as training large language models or just training large AIs. That is where NVIDIA's GPUs come in. They can take all those data sets, run that stuff parallel, and it's great for training these models. The next step is going to be the inference phase. And this is where you're going to start asking the AI, and again, we're talking about specialized AI, not large language models like ChatGPT or things that we're used to, right? That's all that front-facing stuff. It's the back-end kind of things that are going to make a difference, in things like pharmaceutical research and things like engineering. Anyways, we'll talk a little bit about that when we get back. I know we're getting into a break. Stay right there.
If you spend any time online researching trading techniques on how to begin your trading journey, you've no doubt come across many folks who push Forex trading as a way to make big money quickly. Unfortunately, there are equally as many stories of these so-called Forex professionals just looking to make a quick buck off aspiring traders without actually teaching the ins and outs of the Forex market. This is what sets Teddy Keckstack's The Tiger Forex Report off the riffraff. Every Monday, former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member and author Teddy Keckstack releases his Tiger Forex Report newsletter, where he dives into the complex world of Forex and takes time to actually teach you his methods that have made him so successful in the fast-paced and rewarding world of Forex trading. Furthermore, all subscribers receive access to archived live streams of Teddy's, where he provides university-level education to help you in Forex trading. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Forex awaits.
The stock market is a delicate interconnecting web of commodities, equities, and trader psychology. When one string of the web is pulled, it has a ripple effect across the broader market. This is where opportunity lies. But how are you to gather all of this information into one cohesive model when you're already spending your energy looking for any possible trade opportunities? Luckily, you don't have to worry about that, as Tom O'Brien has brought all important market news to you in one single newsletter, Market Insights. Market Insights provides a daily overview of what's happening in the indexes, bonds, gold, and more. Follow along with Tom daily as he analyzes the components that affect the overall movement of the stock market, giving insight into how each one plays either a bullish or bearish role. Tom also analyzes specific equities that he believes has the potential to make huge returns, and his track record proves his analysis right. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Don't let the market leave you in the dust.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to most people. They think it's too volatile and risky. Most people aren't going to take the time to educate themselves on how to do it right. But you're not most people, are you? At TFNN, you'll get the guidance you need to refine your strategies and techniques to invest like a pro. Because you'll be a pro. All TFNN subscriptions, books, software, and courses are available at TFNN.com. And I'm even going to tell you how to get them for less. Use TFNN's Tiger Dollars and you'll get up to a 20% bonus on your purchase. And once you apply them to your account, Tiger Dollars are automatically used for all future or recurring charges. Tiger Dollars also never expire, are fully transferable, and are a great way to add savings to your newsletters or services. Become the investor you were born to be at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Welcome back, everyone. Jacob Shoup, you were watching the Tom O'Brien Show. Before we went to the break, we're talking a little about NVIDIA, really AI in general, kind of the future for the chip industry and what that could kind of look like. I do still think in the near term, maybe 1, 2, 3 years or something like that, NVIDIA still reigns supreme. There are tons of companies who are going to need to, I think Blackwell is going to knock it out of the park. I think it's going to blow our minds how well that does. But remember, we are still in the primary phase of AI. And these GPUs work for great, just like general purposes, but these more specialized ones, when we get into that inference task, and this is where you start hearing stuff, like Microsoft or whatever taking 5 to 10 years to really start seeing a return on the investment. It's because the real money is going to come from the performance of those AIs. And like we were saying in the chat on YouTube, what is going to be with AWS, with Amazon working on these trainiums and all this kind of stuff. The idea is that they're going to be able to shuttle that out to their cloud users, right? And that's what's going to make them competitive. They still have to train the AI to make it competitive, but then it's like, how do we utilize that, right? And then how efficient are we? How much, throughput can we get at a certain, given time? And that becomes a little bit more apparent who the winner is, later bit down the line. But as it stands now in this realm of training, NVIDIA is still supreme. I think they also benefit a little bit from everyone jumping in on it in the beginning, right? I know that's not really like a fantastic, I would say, competitive edge in the sense that like it's not necessarily novel or anything, but everyone just wanted to pick out NVIDIA GPUs and they did. And NVIDIA's gotten very good at packaging these things together, giving people what they want, having solutions. Their CUDA infrastructure is awesome. Everybody knows how to use it if you're dealing in this kind of realm, and that is meaningful, right? I mean, you certainly don't want to right now switch up things. And having to learn all new infrastructure and stuff like that. And that's where I start thinking, like, does Amazon right now really compete, in large, in AI education, essentially, right? In deep learning, the way that NVIDIA competes. And I don't think right now that is accurate, essentially. I do think in the future, these more specialized ones, as I'm saying, are going to be way more dominant. But in that realm as well, does Amazon necessarily want to sell their Trainium AI to competitors? And I don't think that's their model at all. And I see a future of actually pretty vast consolidation of services. And I'm sure that will get some kind of antitrust issue in the future, but as it stands now, I don't see Amazon really necessarily selling Trainium chips in any major way, the same way Nvidia is doing. I just don't think that's what their plan is. Their real plan is to make this to make this stuff work and essentially make this stuff work and sell it out to their customers. And people want to use AWS because they have fantastic AI. And so that's what it seems to be. I'm going to get off the AI talk right now. We don't get a FCC strike against our company. No, I'm kidding. Additionally, we have IBM coming out with earnings, and these guys have been somewhat like in my blind spot, I would say. They've done exceptionally well this year. I mean, we're trading what? Let's say the last day with like any significant volume. The gap down around like 165. We're trading up to 232. They have earnings. Of course, they're also in AI as well. Let's see here. Yeah, so they had a 70% rally over the past 12 months, which is pretty nuts. It seems like their main source of income is really going to be, give me 1 second here, their AI and then their consulting as well. And I ask, what is it that this company does? Because I just don't know. I know they're massive on consultation. Obviously, I know what IBM is, but I'm not familiar and they're not very well featured in the kind of conversation around AI. I think that mainly has to do with them being business to business, which has, some of its, own kind of merits. But the big thing that they have right now is the Granite 3.0. And kind of reading through this, it seems like they're kind of going for the approach that we've been talking on here, which is getting those LLMs to be able to communicate, be that front-facing interface, I would say, for the rest of the suite of tools. And like I said, I've been looking at IBM to see anything that makes them necessarily stand out in a major way. I think the Watson is kind of interesting, but we'll see if it kind of lives up to the hype on it. I'm trying to see. Yeah, so they said generative AI is meaningful opportunity to both consulting, which is, roughly 75%. That's pretty nuts, right? And then software, which is 25%. The headwinds include weaker consulting given pullback in discretionary projects and overall soft macroeconomic kind of factors. So they are expecting an adjusted earnings post of $2.22 a share for September ended quarter, up 24% from a quarter a year earlier. And analysts project sales will rise roughly 2.2% to $15.08 billion. Sadly for me on this one, it's just not my scope. I think I can grasp these other kind of AI approaches a little bit more, and mainly because this is like business to business, right? I don't have experience using IBM. I don't really know anyone who does either. But I mean, obviously the stock price isn't lying. It's not like it's on significant volume or anything, but you can see some days with it, you have decent volume, and it really did test that gap, on some pretty okay volume around here, and keeps going up from there. And so we'll see with IBM. Kind of interesting, I would say. Let me see here if I can yeah, here, actually, you know what? Let me just pull this over just to kind of take a look. So really, their suite is pretty vast, and I think this is what they're leveraging with Granite, right? And it's the same way that Palantir is kind of using their AI to kind of connect their ontology suite in some way. But I was actually really impressed to see you had this much stuff here. You have, they're renting out data lakes, which I think is also really fascinating. Obviously, their big push is essentially into consulting, which is really how they're making a decent bit of their income. So it'd be kind of interesting to see. Let's see here. Software as a service, catalog data, AI models, metadata. If you use IBM in any capacity at work, obviously you don't need to tell me what you do or what you're running and what models you're making, but I would really like to hear from you. You can email me at jacob@tfnn.com and just tell me kind of what you think on that, because it's interesting to me. And I think Palantir was a little bit easier for me to understand, mainly because they have such a good interaction with the U.S. government, and that they were branching out from just government contracts into the general arena. You know, the way that IBM used to do stuff, talking with the engineers, this is like decades ago before I was even born, is what Palantir does now. And so they do pretty well. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
The consistency you're looking for is closer than you think. 1 or 2 adjustments are usually all you need to change your equity curve from red to green and keep it there. Come join Larry Pesavento live to learn what separates the winners from the losers. Join Larry Pesavento on the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month for 3 hours of live trading from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time, where Larry will show you the market setting up and, most important of all, the state of mind of a winning trader. By watching Larry trade, you'll learn the Fibonacci levels, you'll learn how to apply A to B to C to D trading patterns, you'll learn trade management, pattern recognition, and much more. Join Larry October 11th and 25th for more live trading action. Your purchase goes towards 2 sessions, so make sure to sign up now so you don't miss a chance to sit next to Larry as he trades the market live. For all information and reserve your spot today, go to the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
This portion of the Tom O'Brien Show is brought to you by Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the direction. Visit Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Jacob Shoup. You're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. We're talking about everything with chips and AI and what have you. And look at that Qualcomm today. They're off about 3.9%. So what happened? This is actually kind of crazy that you can still get this very human behavior even at top levels of industry. This is probably more philosophical than anything to do with the industry, but it's important to know. I think it's super important to know. So basically, you have ARM Holdings, right? They had their IPO recently, and then Qualcomm. Okay, so it seems that ARM is scrapping Qualcomm's chip design license in a feud escalation. Right, so let's go through this a little bit. ARM is canceling a license that allowed longtime partner Qualcomm to use ARM intellectual property to design chips. This is escalating a legal dispute over vital smartphone technology. ARM has given Qualcomm a mandated 60-day notice of cancellation of their so-called architectural license agreement. According to the document, the contract allows Qualcomm to create its own chips based on standards owned by ARM. That in and of itself, I feel like is a glaring, chink in the armor for Qualcomm. Pretty nuts. Off about 3%. So then the question is, how's ARM doing? Live Jacob reaction. Oh, off 7.4%. Well, dang, that didn't work out, I guess. So Qualcomm obviously sells hundreds of millions of processors annually, technology used in a majority of Android smartphones. The cancellation takes effect. The company might have to stop selling products, check this, that account for as much as roughly $39 billion in revenue. Wow. Let's see here. I think Qualcomm said it was trying to use more unfounded threats designed to strong arm a longtime partner. And then it, quote, appears to be an attempt to disrupt the legal process, and its claim for termination is completely baseless. ARM's anti-competitive conduct will not be tolerated. Well, what are you going to do about that? The disagreement centers on Qualcomm's 2021 acquisition of another ARM licensee and a failure, according to ARM, to renegotiate contract terms. Qualcomm argues that its existing agreement covers the activities of the company that it purchased, and that's a company called Nuvia. Nuvia does microprocessor design, central to new personal computer chips at Qualcomm. So I mean, what is this? They're buying companies that also have contracts with ARM to build certain things, and then Qualcomm says, hey, whatever, we're going to keep doing this because we own this company now. That's interesting. I can see where that could get a little bit freaky. What else is it? Yeah. Announced plans to bring Nuvia's design, the Ori, into its more widely used Snapdragon chips for smartphones, and that is going to be a massive revenue driver for Qualcomm going forward. I mean, we even saw earlier in the past few quarters, sales going up of personal computers because of the inclusion of Snapdragon on them, and Copilot from Microsoft utilizing that. So that can definitely be that's going to hit both of these guys pretty hard if they can't come to a conclusion on it. Anyways, interesting. And then let's see just quickly before we stop talking about this entirely, TSMC, and I've spoken about this a little bit. This is kind of interesting in the past. I probably haven't spoken about it on the show here, but I do talk about this to friends sometimes, how this semiconductor thing is of the utmost importance, right? I think one of the things that NVIDIA has coming towards it that could become a massive problem is the inability to sell to China. We have a lot of different, it's a confluence of certain events occurring right now where the world is actually going to become smaller. I think, again, that was outlined during COVID, right? You have these massive supply chains disruptions that could have been avoided if things were built domestically. And now we're getting, so there's that concept to it. But then now we're getting into the realm of, as I've said before on the show, whoever has the strongest AI, whoever is the strongest golem, that person wins, right? And so you can't be sharing golem making secrets with competitors like China in this circumstance. And so I think NVIDIA, I could see that potentially running into some issues, I would say, going forward if they're not able to capture that market. Of course, they were told earlier this year not to do it, but they found some workarounds with it. And that might not be as big of an issue as it might seem right now, but we will see what happens with it. This one additionally is TSMC. It actually cuts off a client after discovering chips were sent to Huawei. Obviously massive Chinese cell phone manufacturer. So So yeah, discovered this month that chips it made for a specific customer ended up in Huawei Technologies. It's a potential violation of U.S. sanctions intended to sever the flow of technology to a Chinese national company. TSMC halted shipments to the client around mid-October after it realized semiconductors fabricated for an entity, of course, were ending up in those phones. And you know, this kind of stuff, like this kind of espionage, is going to be massive. That's pretty simple stuff, right? You know what I mean? You just set up some client company, it's actually Huawei, and that person sells to that kind of proxy company. You know, that's like child's play as far as that's concerned. But I mean, you're getting to the point, like, so this question, right, of, you know, Chinese not allowing their government workers, right, to use Apple phones. Right? This happened, I believe, in June or something like that. Huawei obviously popped up on it. Now, some people could say, all right, that's them trying to get back at us a little bit, hit an American company. But I'd like to think they would do something like that on a much larger scale, right? Obviously, if a lot of people work for the Chinese government, so it probably is somewhat significant. But there were some things that I was reading on some of these different kind of forums that I go on and news outlets. And it's this idea that, remember that big iPhone update they pushed out? Like they pushed it out on people. The problem is that it turns out there was some kind of back end that was in the iPhone, right? And this was the whole argument, if you remember, with the San Bernardino shooter, right? The FBI wanted Apple to get into the phone, and Apple's like, we're not going to crack that. You know, you're asking us to create a legitimate vulnerability in our software, and if we can do that, someone else is going to be able to exploit that as well. And so it seems at some level, potentially, there was something along the supply chain where built into the hardware, there was a problem. There was some kind of backdoor shortly after. It's kind of hard to say who that was or what that was. But you know, these kind of things are all, what I'm trying to say is this is of like extreme national importance, right? So some of our companies might take a hit because they're not able to sell to China or interact with China. But you can see from instances like that, that this is a pretty serious thing. You know, anyways, I just find that somewhat interesting. And I wonder if there really will be a black market at the end of the day for these kind of chips. These chips will figure out some way to get to that area, and they'll use it, and, you know, probably things that have to do with national security. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. For traders who crave risk, Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs provide opportunities to magnify short-term perspectives with up to 3 times a daily leverage, utilize bull and bear funds from both sides of the trade, and trade through rapidly changing markets. These are highly leveraged ETFs with daily resetting designed for short-term trading, not long-term investing. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the Direxion. For up-to-date pricing and performance, go to Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foresight Fund Services, LLC.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. a must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den, hosted at Discord. TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Tom O'Brien.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Jacob Shoup. You were watching the Tom O'Brien Show. Let's see. Let's take a look at Nextera, okay? Because we've talked about nuclear a lot, and this kind of went how I was thinking. Let's take a look at this Nextera, up about 1.3%. They came out with quarterly earnings of $1.03 per share. That was beating a 98-cent consensus, compares to 94 share a year ago. Surprise earnings, surprise of about 5.10%. That's pretty not so bad. Power industry posted revenues of $7.57 billion for the quarter, ended in September 2024. That was missing estimates of 10.5%, compares to a year ago revenue of $7.17 billion. Yeah, pretty fascinating. And then additionally, you have this kind of news considering a nuclear restart in Iowa. Renewable deals are obviously doing fantastic right now. Nextera is assessing the condition of its Duane Arnold nuclear power plant in Iowa, speaking with regulators with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Very interested in recommissioning the plant, they said. Let's see, it gives us optimism because essentially the 3 Mile Island and Palisades. And then the renewable business projected a backlog of 24 gigawatts in the third quarter. That's up nearly 22.6 gigawatts in the second quarter. Missed estimates of around 810 billion by general kind of analysts. Of course, that was a quarterly revenue of 757. And then really, let's take a look honestly at the actual nuclear stocks, right? Because I think this is what's interesting right now. Okay. It's kind of how I was feeling with it. We were kind of speaking at that. We made a pretty good high. We're coming back down. We're testing this gap, right? I'm still bullish and stuff in the long term. I felt on the short term, there's just too much news surrounding it. There's too much of things not actually happening right now for it to be warranted to go any higher than we were hitting at 58.72. My assumption on this is we're going to reject this gap, right? We might even settle here and kind of consolidate around this consolidation area. But this, I think, is kind of a great time to do that. Again, you got to do your own research on it. You got to feel how you feel it out. But I think at these kind of levels, let's take a look at UEC as well. You're coming back down on low volume after some extraordinarily strong volume movement to the upside. I think there was just a lot of exuberance to begin with. I think this happened very fast. I think you have a lot of people who are around this area who also want to get out. This also might be in some sense shaking out some people who are getting in this kind of level as well. But this seems like it's setting up for a pretty good rejection of the gap, at least in CCJ. And we either consolidate at that level on low volume, which sets us up to the upside, or we just bounce back and consolidate at the high. But yeah, I'm very glad that I waited an extra day on this. And we might even see some more movement to the downside tomorrow as well. A lot of this nuclear stuff is going to get basically played around news and everything. Oklo off 11.76 today. Of course, 22.93 is pretty nuts. This company hasn't done anything yet. Now, again, I've said in the past, it doesn't matter if the company has done anything yet. It's just, are people utilizing its stuff, right? Are they signing deals in order to do these kind of things? That, in my opinion, when you're getting into these really transformational periods, where we're going from the old world into the new world, you gotta have some tolerance for this kind of stuff. Oklo, I'm not, super sold on in any way. I think that it's gonna be a little bit until we determine who's gonna be the best SMR builder. That's a different kind of discussion, but no doubt all these things are going to share. Whoever wins in SMR construction, the company that wins is going to be the ones that are producing uranium as well. So we're going to talk about that, take a look at it and everything like that. I'm curious to see what SMR is at today. Yeah, so only off 2.95%, still trading at 17.28. I still think, again, there's a lot of attention to this. We're going to keep seeing it. Let's talk a little bit about lithium-ion batteries. But the question is, why do I want to talk about that? Here, give me 1 second here. While I wait for that to load, because I want to get you the exact numbers, let's talk a little bit. I think we could first talk about Joby, I would say, which these guys are doing these air taxis, okay? This is kind of some cool tech, I think, and Wednesday just seems to be Future Tech Day. We're talking about, since we don't have any hosts on, or any other guests. But so what Joby essentially does is create these kind of like little quadcopters, which is super neat. Let's see what okay, so they're off a little bit, had some nice volume yesterday, not as big of a volume as the upside here, but that's kind of cool to see. Did kind of get close to kind of testing that gap a little bit and right back up, trading at 616. When this stock came out, I had no interest in it, and really to this point, I don't necessarily right now, but their idea is essentially being able to do the Jensen cars, okay? So instead of me having to wait on these horrible Pinellas County roads to get places or get to Tampa or anything like that, I can go ahead and in the future take a flying air taxi. Now, one of the big issues with that is that there were no FAA regulations on air taxis and how that's supposed to work. And that obviously is a huge hurdle to jump. Well, it seems like yesterday the FAA finalized a comprehensive training and pilot certification rules for flying taxis, addressing a key hurdle in the deployment of this. They called the rule the final piece of the puzzle for safely introducing these aircrafts in the near term. Some flying companies, okay, even Joby, are hoping to begin flying commercial passengers as soon as 2025. And I was talking to my buddy today. I texted him. He's a private pilot. He flies guys around all the time. And he said, and I tend to trust people who are into industries. I mean, they usually think about this stuff all the time. They see there are certain vacuums that aren't being filled as it is. And he said he could actually really see these kind of air taxis taking off, which is kind of interesting to think about. And we'll see if Joby works. Obviously, again, your negative PE, a bad EPS. So we'll kind of see what happens with this company. You get nervous when you're still a few years out from it. I know they're saying 25, but these things always have some kind of issue with them. And so, you kind of get nervous on these kind of news pops and stuff like that, because who knows if Joby actually wins. There's plenty of other avionic companies that can do similar stuff here. But it's something to keep in mind and look at, and I would recommend, again, checking them out. They have a lot of what they do on their websites and stuff like that. I guess one thing that is kind of interesting about Joby and kind of gives them something to get backed with is going to be Delta Airlines. So they have about 60 million invested in Joby. It's a partnership aiming to offer passengers air taxi transports to and from airports in New York, in Los Angeles. That's supposed to be done within a few years. And then Toyota also invested about 500 million in Joby. And I'm not sure the exact specifics on the Toyota deal, but at least for Delta Airlines, that will just be Joby doing Joby things. So somewhat interesting to look at. Folks, stay right there. We'll be right back.
stock market is a delicate, interconnecting web of commodities, equities, and trader psychology. When one string of the web is pulled, it has a ripple effect across the broader market. This is where opportunity lies. But how are you to gather all of this information into one cohesive model when you're already spending your energy looking for any possible trade opportunities? Luckily, you don't have to worry about that, as Tom O'Brien has brought all important market news to you in one single newsletter, Market Insights. Market Insights provides a daily overview of what's happening in the indexes, bonds, gold, and more. Follow along with Tom daily as he analyzes the components that affect the overall movement of the stock market, giving insight into how each one plays either a bullish or bearish role. Tom also analyzes specific equities that he believes has the potential to make huge returns, and his track record proves his analysis right. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Don't let the market leave you in the dust.
In the world of trading, only a few names stand out like Larry Pesavento, a pro's pro with over 50 years of experience. Larry has seen it all. A former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member, Larry has authored 10 books and trained over 1,000 traders with his unmatched expertise. Introducing Fibonacci 24/7, Larry Pesavento's daily trading service that turns the complexity of markets into opportunities. Published every Sunday, receive a comprehensive report packed with detailed commentary, charts, and videos that illuminate the patterns shaping the markets, with updates throughout the week exclusively for subscribers. Whether through charts or videos, Larry's analysis is your roadmap to navigating the markets. You can sign up now at TFNN.com for just $97. And with all TFNN newsletters backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to risk. For all the details, visit TFNN.com. You'll find Fibonacci 24/7 right under the newsletters tab.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter. A must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN. Educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, everyone. Jacob Shoup, this is the Tom O'Brien Show. You know, I was taking the break and I was reading a little bit on the YouTube comments, and it just blows my mind, you know, again, and I don't bring this up all the time and everything, and it's hard to process, but it really blows my mind how many people, you guys listening right now, knew Tom for as long as you did and still come in to listen or just come in to see what's going on. And he left unfillable shoes. The man was just an absolute titan at this kind of stuff. And we were taking some time after the end of programming yesterday to kind of go to the YouTube channel. And you can click the oldest videos on YouTube. But I really recommend you guys doing this after the end of programming today. And we were just watching Tom from 13, 14 years ago. I mean, I'm reading stuff like people knew him from the 90s, people listening to him, you know, on the Boston radio. I mean, hung out with Tom in the early 80s and early 90s. I wasn't even alive then, you know? And it really is extraordinarily touching. I think that's one thing that we can kind of all aspire to, is to try our hardest, you know, to do things that leaves these kind of lasting impressions. You know, I think he would be totally blown away and beyond, you know, flattered to see all these kind of things. I mean, he really was something else entirely. So, you know, thank you for, you know, coming in and listening to this. I know that, you know, there's no one that's going to be like Tom. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? And we're just all so lucky to still have this thing that he started here and built with the other hosts. And we're beyond lucky to be able to have this. And I say that as someone who works for the company. I'm lucky to have something like this. It's fantastic. Let's take a look just real quick before the close. I know we don't have too much time right now. We'll talk about some of the technology with lithium ion tomorrow. Some interesting stuff. Off about 1.59 in the composite, off about 0.94 in the DJI, and then SPY's off about 0.93. Folks, thank you so much for joining me. We're going to see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. for Tommy O'Brien. Take care.